that in our current COVID society, one of the major things we're finding is that parents are now tasked with having to support their children at home. Not only does this mean helping them and making more time to support them with their schoolwork, it also means that many parents are having to battle with children who are not focused and then combine this experience with the fact that they have to do it using technology. So parents are wondering how they should deal with this, how they can demonstrate greater levels of patience and be able to support their children with a balanced experience. What guidance is there that can be provided to help parents experiencing this very complex situation?
Okay.
I could start off on the patience a little.
Mhm.
Sometimes patience is a virtue, as they say. It's also, I think, a spiritual thing. And sometimes what increases our patience is when we increase our knowledge. So sometimes parents are not familiar with the developmental stages of a child, how they would react, because sometimes parents come to me and they think, oh, their child's behavior is so terrible since they started primary school, and they really can't handle it, and the parent is pulling out their hair and whatever. And then I would just open a textbook on my desk and show them, oh, your child is X age. Oh, look here. This behavior is perfectly normal and your child is normal. So sometimes when parents understand the developmental stages a little more, they can read and understand that it can increase their patience. Also, in terms of disciplining children, I think if parents learn to handle their own anger, manage their own anger, um, they will probably be able to have more patience, because you know us Caribbean parents, they bust in licks in a line and they really don't have that sort of patience. That's maybe a traditional thing that stems from maybe an autocratic style of parenting. But just like how you don't feel to wake up and go to work some morning, but you have to, sometimes the children in a kind of mood or a zone, and we do need to have patience, because patience is also a part of love. And if we want our children to have a better relationship with us, uh, if we want there to be open communication with us and our child, patience is a part of extending love to our child. Nalini, anything? Or
Y- Yes. I think though I would first start with some self-care because you need to look after yourself, especially in stressful situations, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And parents, they need to be very mindful of the fact that they are the role models at home. They are the ones that the children would look onto. And if you find yourself in what we say you're in a mess, then your children will not learn to cope in situations. If you cannot juggle, they see you having issues juggling and you're messing up things and you're all frantic, you have erratic behaviors. That is how they are going to learn to cope. They're going to have that same behavior because they're going to pattern the way you behave. So you are their first mentor and you are the one that they would model after. So my recommendation in terms of patience is self-care. Finding that time for yourself at different points in the day to do what it is you like to de-stress. And when you are distressed, you would be able to find that balance. Now, as a parent, everybody home is different. You need to find a model that works for you. You know your children, you know what time they get up, you know their routines. You need to find a model that will work for you. And on the days when you can't be there, you definitely need some type of assistance from persons that you trust. Because you will not, have persons come into your home that you don't trust. Are you hearing me?
yes, yes, we're hearing.
Okay, great. Yes. So, some simple tips for parents. children can, as we say, drive you up a wall, you need to sometimes step back and just take some breath. I have learned this. I teach it, but I learn it myself. You need to take deep breaths. You need sometimes to say a still head holds a wise, the other way around. The still mouth, the still head do something with the wise tongue, right? So you need to just take some breath and step back from the situation. Don't go rushing into answering them. Stay calm, talk to your children, reiterate what you're going to say, be assertive, make sure your communication is very clear, you set your boundaries, and you do not let your children override you in terms of the boundaries by you losing your control because they will always try manipulation tactics to have their own way. Children can be very, very, very manipulative. So at the point of weakness, they will want to take over, and you cannot give away your power as a parent to the children because that is when you would find most disciplinary issues will step into play. So just to reiterate what I've said, you just taking a step back and finding what works for you, taking care of yourself, breathing, simple thing, just breathing before you answer. You are their first role models, and we need to get some things right because when they go off into school, they will take the same behaviors that they have seen at home with them.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, very true.
Thank you, ladies. As we continue on with CPDS Connect, the question asks what recommendations can be given to parents who have to balance career, children, school life, and general home life during the COVID-19 period?
Well, that was touched on a little bit in
Yes.
terms of when we spoke about time management and stress management. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, there is something called work-life balance, which is a position we should strive for. You know, we cannot let one take over the other. So much work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yes.
So we need to have that balance in our life. I know sometimes the chores at home can seem overwhelming. It doesn't have enough time. So the couple suggestions I have, um, a big one is keep a calendar, a
Mm-hmm.
family calendar, somewhere where you could see and remember the activities uh, on your phone, on the fridge, so that people can see and know. I think another thing that helps us to balance schedules is having a little touch base time, at least once a week, whether it's a meal on a Sunday. So at least people can talk. So, what is happening for you this week? Have your classes
Mm-hmm.
started? How is it going? Or mommy have a meeting this evening after work, or somebody has something. So scheduling and everybody knowing what everybody is doing is going to help. Um, Put reminders on your phone for things that helps. Another thing that helps us balance our schedules and maximize time is a simple thing like prepping the night before, you know, when you put
Mm-hmm.
away the food in the fridge, pack the lunch, make the sandwich or whatever one time. So prepare. So in the morning, you happen to run late, somebody, whatever, you know, you could still move. And when you get home, Nalini was touching on it a little bit in terms of self care. Um, Sometimes we have to learn to switch off. We
Mm-hmm.
have to learn to leave the world behind. The work, because the work, as they say in local, the work do done, people that's dead
Yeah,
and
I do done.
it do done. So you just have to
Mm-hmm.
switch off, you know, have some time where you bathe, you put on your nightie, you watch some TV, or just, you know, read some nice things on your phone in your bed, whatever it is. But we do need a little me time as parents,
Mm-hmm.
or we're going to get lost. We need some time where we can take our hands off of the heat of that situation and just let our hands cool off a little bit before we touch it again, even if it's just a few minutes. Sometimes it could be a simple thing as a phone call to a friend,
Mhm.
just a vent, especially with us ladies. In the middle of all of the balancing of the schedules with the family, we also, if there is a partner or a significant other or a spouse in the picture, we still have to try to spend time to connect. Because in the midst of all this busyness, we can end up being so separate, even though you live in the same house. And that is one of the things that we need to do. Find small ways, whether it is having a cup of tea together early in the morning, um, have a little devotion time if you can, if you share the same religion, even if during that family time you're able to um, spend a little time in whatever spiritual activity, that is good because as old times say, families that pray together stay together. And if you have to be away from your kids, of course, you can stay connected during the day, whether it means popping online to their classes or calling them video to see what they're doing or whatever. You can do that. And yeah, those are, oh, and finally, in the midst of all the scheduling, let's don't forget to plan some fun family time in the mix. Because sometimes the busyness of life, the responsibilities, the disciplining, the schooling, all of that is the zooming is so much that we forget that we need to plan a little fun in the family, whatever it is. Yeah. Alina?
That that was well said. I only want to stick one little pin in there, and that would be shared responsibility. Because I have noticed as a woman, I tend to want to be super mom. I want to clean. I want to make sure the homework is done. I want to balance the groceries. I want to make sure the bill is paid. I do everything. I notice what I said was I. And what I think is very important in this time is that we share responsibility. We give each and every person something to do so we don't get burnt out even at home. So we can have the time, as Andrea would have said, to do everything else that would lean towards self care and finding balance.
It's true. Sometimes I reach the point where I say, look, I'm a person too.
Yes.
I just like how you want to spend half day gaming, or somebody else, let's say the other parent, might want to spend time in front of the television. So what about me?
Hmm.
I don't have anything I want to do for myself. I don't want to do my toes or wash my hair or just do nothing and just plop down, in my nightie.
Yes.
So we tend to forget us because the society, in terms of gender roles, um,
Yes.
seem to place that domestic emphasis on the female, and it
Correct.
really doesn't have sharing, equal sharing of responsibilities. Because
Hmm.
mommy would go to work all day and then come home and have to go in the kitchen and turn on the washing machine at the same time. And dads, if they are in the picture, you know, take a rest in front of the TV, eat a plate of food and stuff. Sorry, I'm not male bashing because not all dads are like that. I do have a few friends who are single dads and they do an excellent job.
Thank you, ladies. So, our final question during this CPDS
But
Connect
only
free guidance session
yeah.
says we know that each child is different and each child has a different learning style. How can I, as a parent, reach them as individuals at their levels? Ladies?
Um, Different learning styles. Say it again, Elena.
Sure. The prompt says, as a parent, I know that each of my children has different learning styles as individuals. How can I, as a parent, reach them according to their own level?
Yes, we do learn differently. Some people, because there are different forms of intelligence and there are different ways that people learn. Some people learn by seeing, some people learn by touching, some people um, learn by just listening to instructions. So that was very intuitive that the parent was able to distinguish this. Now she or he has to do some research and find out
Mhm.
what would be best for each style. So a child who is a visual learner, things like charts and graphs would work well. For a child who is an auditory learner, they may want to listen to things on YouTube and listen, learn through the use of music and all of that. For the child who needs to learn through touching, they would probably be more activity based. So that was a excellent intuitive question from the parent, and it would take a little bit of research depending on the age of the child, so that whatever the parent chooses could be age appropriate and appropriate to the style of learning.
Nalini, any input on this prompt?
Actually, Andrea covered that. So,
No
Okay.
problem. Great.
mhm.
I have one more prompt for you, ladies. As we continue with the CPDS Connect discussion, I would like to ask you, ladies, can you please share with those who would be viewing this recording where they can seek help? For the evening, we have spoken about patience, balancing schedules, managing stress, dealing with children who have self harm, who have challenges with a lack of focus, and as well how to just generally be a better parent. As we consider the topics that we've discussed within this segment, can you take a moment to share either resources, websites, or places, institutions that we can go to that would allow parents to seek help? And of course, ladies, I want to remind you if there's any other topic you would like to touch on, this is your time. The floor is yours to encourage parents in any way you think that, based on your experience, parents have been struggling and you think it definitely is a top point to discuss.
Okay, well, I would like parents though to take, well, I know we would not have time to take all the numbers, but if they go online, they would be able, and they type in, assistance and support, they would get a list of numbers, and these numbers should include the police, childline, children's authority, domestic violence, child guidance clinic, child care board, national AIDS hotline, rape crisis society, families in action, lifeline or suicide, police protection unit, victim and witness support unit, counter trafficking unit. And in Tobago, there are the Tobago House of Assembly, Children and Family Services, and National Family Services Division. Also, there are the Rape Crisis and the Coalition Against Domestic Violence also in Tobago. So it would be good if they would go online, take note of this, and get a copy, print a copy, and always keep this on hand. Keep a copy also of the ambulance, the local ambulance, the local healthcare, the numbers. In case of an emergency, the number is there. Store it on your phone, have it on quick dial, and you can access assistance.
And one other thing is, if you know there is a situation that can arise in your home, let's say due to um, an addiction or like
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism or some kind of abusive situation, um, you need to make a safety plan. safety plan is basically where you say a word or something like that, and the child knows what to do. They know when you say that secret word, it means go to your room quickly and make this phone call, because sometimes you may be in danger, you may be cornered or whatever. So, in addition to the numbers, you need to discuss safety in your home, a plan either of escape or
Mm-hmm.
to hide or somebody to contact in the event that, because sometimes we call
Mm-hmm.
some of these agencies and the help is not immediate, but we
Mm-hmm.
need to make a plan where of intervention where a friend, a relative, somebody can intervene, or you can escape from the dangerous situation. There's one of the questions you had mentioned earlier, Elena. It had to do with lack of focus. Um, about how do we deal with children when they are not focused. I did not want that question to escape because it has very special significance to me. Sometimes we may be seeing in our child's report book very bright but inability to stay focused, need to settle down, stay focused. Each term, they keep telling you he's a bright child, but he's just wasting time. He can't focus. That word is a red flag. That word is saying something. Long time, we would think you hit the child two tap or quarrel with them enough and that'll get them focused. Maybe out of fear, they might focus for a little bit, but lack of focus can actually be a diagnosable condition, which can be related to one form of ADHD
Mm-hmm.
that used to be known as attention deficit disorder. It's no
Mm-hmm.
longer called that, it's just called ADHD. Um, so there are many children in our system who cannot focus. And sometimes it becomes so bad that they just cannot tune into their schoolwork. They're very easily distracted. And that is a red flag. That is something you should definitely have checked out. Let your guidance officer or social worker at the school know
Mm-hmm.
so that they can refer the child to be assessed, because that may actually be a problem. And um, if it is so bad, if the child is actually diagnosed with ADHD, sometimes there's medication that can actually help the child settle down and increase their focus. So I didn't want to let that go. I just wanted to say that. So there are some situations that licks can't fix.
Definitely.
Mm.
Thank you. Just wanting to ask Andrea though, are there any resources or institutions that you would like to make mention of, maybe separate from what Nalini spoke about, that parents can keep in mind in getting support for the different topics that we would have discussed earlier in this segment?
Well, that was a pretty exhaustive list with all the key agencies in Trinidad and Tobago. But another first responder for a parent usually is your religious institution. In the event of emergencies, people usually reach for their religious leader, and that
Right.
can be a good source of support
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, or sometimes people within the religious congregation may be able to help and support financially or through kind deeds or whatever it is. So don't neglect, we are a religious society, and sometimes religious leaders are the best first responders.